Good evening, everybody, and we begin at 5 with the plight of a proud and historic building in downtown Portland. Once known for gold and grandeur, is now home to blood-stained walls, nonstop drug use, and the stench of urine. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Laurel Porter. The building's at Southwest Broadway in Alder and is one of many vacant Portland properties struggling to get off the market. Blair Best takes us inside, showing a disturbing side effect of the drug and homeless crisis plaguing Portland.
Blood-stained walls cover this historic storefront downtown Portland, once admired for its avant-garde design and pure gold facade.
Well, this is the Charlesberg Building downtown.
Sandwiched between 3 other vacant lots on Southwest Broadway, this 4-story, 20,000 square foot building, now a squatter's paradise.
And they were living here for a couple of weeks before we noticed.
Denise Prohosky is the broker behind the listing.
So this room was completely cleaned and emptied, as is the entire building was completely spotless, and ready for tours and showings and things like that. But they were obviously doing like active drug use throughout. You can see each of them kind of chose a bedroom, and they each had their stuff in bedrooms throughout the building, like in our office spaces.
It's been empty and on the market for a few years now.
We've got a 30% vacancy rate. It changes these buildings in that no one's here to take care of them.
The asking price, $3.75 million.
I feel a lot of empathy for the building owner. He's already lost $1 million on this, and he's probably going to lose another $1 million before it's all said and done.
Since repairing all this damage will be costly.
I've never had a commercial property that's been broken into and lived in by people that were on drugs.
The smell of urine is so strong you can almost taste it. Now, given the state of this building, a regular cleaning company just won't do. So they'll have to hire a biohazard team instead.
I don't even want to touch this stuff. Here's the loaded needle in here. I just found it.
Late last month, Portland police raided the building and arrested 9 people for trespassing. Prohosky is still cautious.
It makes me afraid that somebody's still in here. It's a big building. And there's doors that are locked in here that I can't get into, and I don't know why they are. This is what happened. Right above this is the hot water heater, and it flooded out the ceiling and the ceiling tiles.
Through all the destruction, she fights to find a silver lining in a crisis bleeding its way through Portland.
I can talk about the history of this building all day long. I can talk about the history of downtown and how vibrant it was and how it's changed, and it will change again. It will get better, and that it is an opportunistic market right now. Like, it really is the time to buy right now. But other than that, there's no smoke and mirrors. It is what it is.
So the building was swept again today before a locksmith came to fix all the broken locks. Now, as we mentioned, this building is on a block with 3 other vacant office buildings. We're waiting to hear back from each of those real estate teams to see if they're experiencing the same thing. David, Laurel.
No smoke and mirrors. That was raw and real. Thank you, Blair. Meanwhile, with a daytime camping ban now in effect in the Rose City, local nonprofits like Old Town's Blanche Shea House have begun handing out suitcases to people living on the streets to make them more mobile. Thomas Schultz is here. Thomas, we should mention there is no enforcement of that ban yet, but it sounds like people are getting ready.
Yeah, that's right, David. No enforcement yet, but as you can imagine, many people were overjoyed with the wheeled suitcases. Some homeless residents say the donations are big enough to store all of their belongings. The Blanche Shea House gave away 91 suitcases today and still even has some left. Representatives from the nonprofit say they received around 120 donated bags. Homeless Portlanders say the suitcases will help keep their personal items safe and easy to move once the camping ban ordinance begins to be enforced. The new ordinance prohibits camping on city property from 8 in the morning until 8 at night. Camping is also banned at all times in parks and sidewalks. People must be at least 250 feet from schools, child care centers, and high crash corridors. But some residents say this ban makes their lives harder when they're at their most vulnerable.
Don't be pushing us away, try to help us. Give us a certain area that we could camp, not worried about being, our stuff get ripped away.
There's no announced timeline for when enforcement of the ban will begin, although Mayor Ted Wheeler calls the ordinance a reasonable restriction. His office says there will be a phased approach to connect people to services before the ban begins. Wheeler previously said his goal is to have enough shelter and housing available to eliminate unsanctioned housing. Laurel?
Thank you, Thomas. The Clackamas County Sheriff's Office is asking the public for tips about a woman found dead near Wilsonville. An autopsy points to homicide. She was discovered near a vacant house off Stafford Road. Authorities say the place was in the process of being sold. A person doing work on the property found the body late Monday morning. The woman hasn't been publicly identified yet. You're asked to call the sheriff's tip line if you have any information.
Gresham police are looking for the person who hurled a rock at someone. We want to warn you, while the victim, who was apparently hit directly in the head, is doing okay, the video is disturbing and really downright shocking to watch. We're going to play it for you once and then a second time slowed down. Take a look. The suspect is going to appear from around the corner and then chuck what police say was a large piece of concrete. The victim suffers a direct hit and immediately falls to the ground there. This was back in March, though. Police have just released a photo of the suspect, hoping somebody recognizes him. Anyone with information about this attack or this person is asked to call the Gresham Police tip line.
We're right in the middle of wildfire season right now. The state is working on a map that will help people know where the highest fire risks are. As meteorologist Joe Ranieri reports, this isn't the first time they've tried to outline the fire dangers across our state.
This is the second time around a map like this has been released. You might remember both the Oregon State University as well as the Oregon Department of Forestry released a map talking about the detailed areas where there's a high risk for wildfire danger across the state. Well, that didn't go over too well. Now we're getting an idea of what a second one might look like. There's no way around it. We live in a hot spot now for wildfires.
In 2021, the legislature passed Senate Bill 762, kind of trying to address multiple wildfire issues in Oregon and establishing several wildfire programs.
Senate Bill 762 was passed to help develop a safe and effective response to those dangers. One of those was this map outlining 5 different levels of risks, from no risk to extreme risk.
There certainly was some misunderstandings and consternation about the map and the risk that it posed for individual properties and communities.
But in this past session, lawmakers passed Senate Bill 80 and made some revisions
to change the name of the map to a Wildfire Hazard Map, to hopefully better illustrate the purpose of the map, which is to educate people of the environmental hazard that wildfire may pose to their areas.
Derek Gasparini with the Oregon Department of Forestry says the new map is going to have 3 levels.
The new map will be 3 hazard classes, 3 hazard zones, low, moderate, and high.
Gasparini says this map will allow Oregonians to see where the highest risk of wildfires are, which are along the central and eastern side of the state and down into southern Oregon.
For this to be an educational tool for Oregonians to be able to access the map and see what their hazard is in regards to wildfire.
One thing this map doesn't replace:
the legislature did pass Senate Bill 82 in 2023, prohibiting insurance companies from using this statewide map for any insurance-related purposes to determine whether to extend coverage or for determining rates.
Insurance companies have their own maps and policies they use when determining insurance policies for homeowners.
This map is about the environmental hazard, and it has to be based on weather, climate, topography, and vegetation.
This second map isn't complete just yet. The Oregon Department of Forestry and Oregon State University want to hear more from communities across the state. That's not expected to happen until the later part of this year or potentially into the early part of 2024. In downtown Portland, Joe Ranieri, KGW News.
It is a political hot potato with big health and environmental implications. We are talking about gas stoves, and in Eugene, a new and controversial policy banning natural gas hookups in some new construction has suddenly been reversed. Environmental reporter Cale Williams is in the newsroom. Cale, why the sudden change of heart here?
So, David, this all started as an ordinance the city council passed back in February. That banned natural gas hookups in new low-rise residential construction. Opponents of the measure, who are almost entirely funded by the state's largest gas utility, Northwest Natural, gathered enough signatures to force a citywide vote on the ban. Then, in April, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals struck down an almost identical law in Berkeley. That ruling, according to Eugene Mayor Lucy Venus, would have proved an insurmountable challenge to the ban, even if the residents of Eugene voted to approve it. Vinna said she still believes the city must work to lessen its climate impact from fossil fuels.
But I also believe when you're faced with a brick wall, and this legal challenge faces us with a brick wall, you have to find other pathways to do the work.
Now, Eugene was the first and largest city to propose this kind of ban in Oregon, but it wasn't the only one. Milwaukee has a similar ordinance that's scheduled to go into effect early next year. But it remains to be seen what effect, if any, the court's ruling will have there. David?
Thank you, Kale.
People working in Salem are about to face a new income tax, even if they don't live there. City Council approved the new tax Monday night. Salem leaders say they need the money to cover a budget shortfall and to pay for things like firefighters, police, and homeless services. If you work in Salem, how much you pay depends on how much you make. If you earn $50,000 a year, you'd pay about an extra $400 in taxes. Salem won't start collecting the money for at least another year.